Welcome in, chosen one. You already feel it, don't you? That strange, heavy silence in the air. Not peaceful silence, the kind of silence that only shows up right after a lie gets caught in broad daylight. Because the second your real self touched the timeline, the whole room stopped breathing. The clock didn't tick. It froze. Every rumor they spread, every sideways comment, every cheap little label they stuck on your name, it all curdled the instant your truth walked in. And now the same people who once acted like they had you fully mapped out are sitting there stunned, replaying your reveal like it's evidence in a case against them. Here's the part that really stings for them. They can't even deny they were wrong. Their own words are aging badly in real time. They said you'd peak early. They said you were all talk. They said the world would forget you. Now look, they're frozen, hoping nobody remembers the things they said about you before. Diondon Munsilson, if this message is landing hard right now, good. Because everything they doubted, everything they mocked, everything they tried to shrink down to nothing, the universe just settled all of it on your behalf. Diondon Munson Fon, before we go any further, chosen one, tap that like button and hit subscribe. Not as a formality, as a way of feeding the message, keeping the signal alive, making sure this truth doesn't die in the algorithm. Now let's go back to the moment your enemies went quiet. Here's the truth nobody wants to admit. They never actually hated the old version of you. What they hated was that even your most muted, low-key version was still outperforming their loudest attempt at relevance. They hated that you could walk in with zero introduction and somehow still take up more space than people who rehearsed their whole personality like a stage play. And here's the funny part. When they said, "You're not that deep," what they meant was, "I can't keep up with how you think." When they said, "Relax, you're doing too much," they meant, "Please stop, because your growth is making my stillness look like failure." When they asked, "Why do you even try so hard?" what they were really saying was, "You're exposing how little effort I put in." So what actually broke them during your reveal? It wasn't the glow-up, it wasn't the story, it wasn't even the success. It was the moment they realized that every single time they tried to box you in, you were already standing 3 steps outside the box. They thought they were studying you like a pop quiz. In reality, they were watching the opening chapter of someone the universe simply refuses to let lose. They wanted their version of you, the small one, the manageable one, to be the correct one, and then you showed up with the real one, and it wiped their whole story off the board in a single moment. Here's something they will never say out loud. They always sensed you were different, long before you ever confirmed it. That's exactly why they reacted the way they did. Kids don't tease what they don't secretly fear. Adults don't gossip about people who don't quietly threaten their comfort. Every insult aimed at you was just panic wearing a costume. They caught glimpses of this reveal long before it happened. They felt the universe quietly assembling someone they couldn't predict, couldn't manage, couldn't control, and they panicked, because that's the only move amateurs know. Let me tell you a story you've already lived, even if you never had the words for it. Remember how strange people got whenever you won at something? That wasn't jealousy, that was early fear. They were catching a preview of the version of you standing here right now, someone whose mere presence rearranges a room, someone the internet can't stop talking about, someone who turns silence into leverage and leverage into power. You think it's a coincidence that people kept trying to dim your light? No, they were reacting to a future version of you they could already sense coming, and that future has arrived, standing here, revealing itself without asking anyone's permission. Your identity didn't just circulate, it detonated. It unraveled every lie built quietly around your name. It made old classmates question their own arrogance. It made past situationships reevaluate every judgment call they made about you. It made the people who counted you out wonder how many times they misread the room. And it made everyone realize you were never waiting on a stage. You were the stage the whole time. They were just background noise, watching you from the corner and hoping you wouldn't clock it. This isn't luck. This is closure. This is the universe finally saying, let them see exactly what they tried to bury, and now they're sitting there wide-eyed, rewinding every interaction they ever had with you like it's footage from a case they're only now solving. Who were you this entire time? How did you stay this composed? How did you keep evolving without ever tipping your hand? Simple. You didn't rush. You didn't perform. You didn't beg to be understood. You moved like someone who already knew the reveal was coming on the universe's schedule, not theirs. Today that schedule caught up. This is the start of their unraveling and your arrival. Once the world meets the real you, there's no rewind button, not for them, and definitely not for you. And listen, chosen one, yes, you, the one who just made the algorithm hiccup. Before we go deeper, take one breath and actually absorb what just happened. Your reveal didn't just perform well, it rewired how people process you. It forced the internet to sit down and reconsider everything it assumed it knew. If you're ready to keep walking through this, ready to understand exactly why your truth cracked their whole worldview, then show me you're still here. Drop 111 in the comments so the universe knows you're stepping into this fully. Tap like, hit subscribe, not as a favor, but as a signal that you're standing behind the truth you just released. Because what's coming next isn't small talk. It's the hidden mechanism behind the chaos your reveal caused, and if you really are the one they never saw coming, you're going to feel the pull to stay for every word of this. This is where the real breakdown begins. Let's move through it, point by point, starting with what your reveal actually set off. Number 1, their lies collapsed on contact. It's almost funny how fast their confidence evaporated the second your truth walked in unannounced. The moment your real self hit the timeline, it didn't just catch people off guard, it flattened them. Years of side comments, false assumptions, and lazy judgments folded like wet paper the instant your truth stepped into the light. What actually broke them wasn't your transformation. It was realizing you were never the lightweight they'd painted you as. They weren't reacting to a new you, they were reacting to the real you, finally stepping out from behind a curtain they built to keep the narrative theirs. Let's be honest, they didn't misjudge you by accident. They needed you smaller so your size wouldn't highlight their own stagnation. They built you a costume because the real you was too sharp, too fast, too aware, too unpredictable to manage. And when the universe decided it was time to pull the curtain back completely, their whole storyline blew up in their faces. You didn't change overnight. You didn't suddenly level up out of nowhere. They simply ran out of ways to keep denying what was already true. You were the threat this whole time, and they were too slow to clock it. That's exactly why the reveal landed like a gut punch. Nobody was ready. Not them, not the internet, not even the ones who now claim they always believed in you. Everyone felt that jolt, that crack in the walls they built around who they thought you were. People who assumed they understood your ceiling suddenly saw you standing far past it. And in that same second, the past came rushing back to choke them. Every joke, every eye roll, every dismissive comment. Now they're replaying it all with a kind of regret that actually stings. Here's the truth they'll never admit out loud. They were terrified that the day you finally revealed yourself would be the day their whole image of themselves fell apart. And congratulations, chosen one, that day is here, right on time. We already know the question circling in your mind. Did they genuinely believe the lies about you, or were they just trying to keep you contained? Honestly, both. Some people were simply too limited to see you clearly. Others saw exactly who you were becoming and tried to smother it before the world caught on. And then there were the fake supporters, clapping louder for your setbacks than they ever did for your wins. They weren't fans. They were spectators, waiting for the crash that never came, because instead of crashing, you rose so quietly they didn't notice you'd already outgrown their whole circle. Think about how many people laughed at you while secretly studying your moves. Think about how many people downplayed you in public, then quietly borrowed your ideas like you wouldn't notice your own fingerprints. Think about the ones who acted confused every time you spoke, not because they didn't understand, but because admitting they understood meant admitting you were sharper than them. That's why the reveal hit them like a power outage. They couldn't fake superiority anymore. They couldn't hide behind sarcasm or pretend your confidence was too much. Your truth cut through every excuse like light through thin fabric. And here's where the metaphor lands. Picture your identity as a blade kept wrapped in cloth for years. People handled it carelessly because they assumed it was dull. Then you unwrapped it and the light caught the edge. Suddenly everyone realized they'd been swinging at something they were never equipped to face. They weren't ready for the shine, the precision, the danger underneath. That blade was never new, it was just finally uncovered. Your reveal was the moment the world understood that your silence was never weakness, it was calculation. And to the people who love watching from the shadows, you weren't wrong about the chosen one. You were just hoping your version of the story would hold long enough to keep everyone asleep. It has to sting, watching everything you said age like it was left out in the sun. It has to sting, realizing your analysis was just insecurity wearing a smarter outfit. And it has to be humbling, watching the person you underestimated walk past without needing revenge, because the truth already did the work for them. To the chosen one reading this, don't brush past what this moment actually means. This isn't some random algorithm fluke. This is closure disguised as a viral moment. This is the universe saying, enough hiding. Every time you bit your tongue, every time you swallowed your words, every time you felt overlooked, this reveal cut that chain loose. You're not stepping into a new identity, you're stepping into the one they tried to keep buried. And here's the wildest part. This never would have hit this hard if it happened earlier. Timing is part of your power. The universe waited until the impact would be undeniable. And look around, that impact is everywhere. Old rivals gone quiet. Fair weather friends suddenly sending so proud of you texts as if they weren't rooting against you a year ago. Strangers analyzing your journey like they're trying to figure out what they missed. New Reveal didn't just perform well online, it broke an illusion, it cracked their pride. It dismantled the fake version of you they'd been carrying around, and now they're standing in the wreckage of it, staring at the real you like they're seeing a stranger, not because you disappeared, but because you finally showed up in full. So sit with this moment, chosen one. Feel the weight of what just shifted. Feel the relief in knowing the mask can never go back on. Feel the room recalibrating around your reality, because from here forward, every move you make is going to remind them of the truth they tried to erase. You were never the soft one. You were never the background character. You were the danger the whole time, and now everyone knows it. And we're only getting started. Number 2, they didn't catch you lying. They caught themselves assuming. Your silence was never deception. It was protection from people who couldn't handle the whole picture. They weren't betrayed, they were exposed. Your truth was never hidden, their understanding was. They keep repeating the same weak accusation, you deceived us, as if they ever had the range to comprehend the version of you that was standing right in front of them the entire time. They mistook your restraint for dishonesty because they needed a villain once their sense of superiority collapsed. But here's the actual twist. You never tricked anyone. You never misled anyone. You simply revealed yourself in layers, at a pace their patience could survive. That's not deception. That's mercy. Picture this. You walk into a dim room holding a spotlight, and you turn it on people who've spent their whole lives comfortable in low light. Do they see brilliance? No. They squint, they flinch, they call it too much. That's exactly what happened with your truth. It was too sharp, too layered, too far beyond what people trained to read only surface-level things could process. Your reveal didn't expose you, it exposed them, their limits, their insecurity, their lack of range. You might be wondering, did I hide too much? Should I have shown this sooner? No, you weren't wrong. You were strategic. The universe didn't let this happen earlier because it would have been wasted on people who weren't ready to receive it. Here's another way to see it. Imagine carrying a locked case everywhere you go. People laugh, assuming it's empty, calling you dramatic for holding onto it so carefully. Then one day you open it, and inside is everything they swore you didn't have. Skill, depth, patience, vision. They don't celebrate. They panic, because now they have to accept they were loud and wrong, while you were quiet and right. Their anger was never about the hiding, it was about how confidently they misjudged you. Number 3. You weren't competing, you were already 3 moves ahead. They swear your quiet meant low confidence, cute. Meanwhile, you were running a long game so precise, so far outside their frame of reference, that they didn't even register a game was happening until it was already over. While they chased attention like it was oxygen, you were building something that never needed applause to be real. You weren't rushing, you weren't proving anything. Every post had intention, every silence carried weight. Imagine this, they're sprinting laps around a playground, thinking it's a race. You're on a rooftop across the city, with the entire map laid out, already aware of exactly where they'll stumble. That's the gap between you. They thought speed was the win condition. You knew direction was. You may wonder, was I too slow? Did staying quiet cost me anything? No, your pace was never a weakness. Their noise came from fear. Your stillness came from control. You were never chasing attention. You were preparing for impact. Think of it like a chessboard. They were bragging about moving pawns. You were already studying the endgame. Number 4. You weren't hiding, you were charging up. They assumed you disappeared. In reality, you were upgrading into a version of yourself that people around you weren't equipped to stand next to. Your silence wasn't fear, it was incubation. They loved saying you'd faded, lost your spark, fallen off, but the real story is this. You weren't hiding from the world, you were shielding your own growth from people who would have sabotaged it the moment they sensed how far it could go. You weren't absent, you were developing, quietly, far from the noise and the projection. Picture a storm cloud building far above the ground. From below, the sky looks calm, boring, even, but up there, pressure is stacking, energy is gathering, the atmosphere is shifting. Then the lightning hits without warning, and suddenly everyone claims they saw it coming. That was you. You might ask, did I wait too long? No. Revealing too early would have meant getting attacked before you were ready, drained before you were finished. The universe was shielding your process from people who would have poisoned it. Number 5. Their doubt handed you the blueprint. Every time they underestimated you, they were accidentally giving you information you could use later. Their disrespect wasn't an insult, it was intelligence. While they laughed, you were mapping their patterns. While they mocked, you were studying their habits. While they assumed you were harmless, you were quietly sharpening exactly the parts of yourself that would one day make them uneasy. Picture someone locking you in a room, convinced you're too weak to get out. But the walls are thinner than they think, the locks are cheap, and the entire time you're inside, you're studying pressure points and exit angles. By the time they realize you're gone, the room is already caving in. That's what their limitations forced you to build: adaptability, patience, strategy they never developed themselves. Number 6. The internet didn't panic because it understood you. It panicked because it finally admitted it never did. The moment your identity hit the timeline, group chats didn't just light up, they combusted. People who claimed they'd forgotten about you resurfaced overnight, acting like they'd been rooting for you the whole time. If they were rooting for anyone, it was themselves. Picture someone dropping a document on the table that rewrites the whole story. People flip through it, eyes wide, realizing the version of events they believed in was never accurate. That's exactly what your reveal did. It made them question every assumption, every rumor, every conclusion they'd already filed away. You might wonder, why is everyone acting shocked now? Because your truth broke their old narrative, and people cling to their narratives the way they cling to routine. When yours shattered, they lost the script. Number 7. You never lied. They just never earned the full picture. They call you inconsistent because they only ever saw the slice they could handle. You weren't hiding, you were layered. Each audience got a fragment, not because you were misleading them, but because most people can't hold the entire picture without folding under it. Picture a large mural revealed gradually behind a curtain. Each group that walks by sees a different section and assumes they understand the whole piece. One group sees warmth and calls you soft. Another sees precision and calls you cold. None of them realize they're arguing over fragments of something they were never meant to interpret alone. You weren't shape-shifting, you were adjusting your lighting depending on the room, the same thing anyone reasonable does. Number 8. You didn't break their trust in you. You broke their trust in themselves. Your reveal didn't just show them who you actually are, it cracked something deeper, the assumption that their perception was reliable in the first place. Picture someone who's confidently read a map for years, only to have it flipped and realize they've had it upside down the entire time. That disorientation is what your reveal did to them. They didn't just misjudge you, they misjudged their own ability to judge anyone. Number 9. You didn't leave the group. The group lost its position next to you. Power doesn't get taken, it shifts the moment truth becomes impossible to deny. Your reveal didn't just change how people see you, it rearranged the entire room. You went from overlooked to unmistakable without needing to raise your voice once. Picture a group walking what they think is flat ground, only to look up and realize you've been climbing a staircase they never noticed. You didn't leave them behind, they simply stayed still while you kept moving. Number 10. Your reveal wasn't a post, it was a timed, deliberate strike. Nothing about it was accidental, it landed exactly where it needed to, exactly when they weren't braced for it. A truth released too early gets ignored. A truth released at the right moment becomes permanent. Picture a single precise cut instead of a wild swing, clean, deliberate, unmistakable. That's what your reveal was, not chaos, design. Number 11. You didn't just share your story, you took the entire narrative before anyone else could touch it. By speaking first, you made sure no one else got to define the moment for you. Most people reveal something and then wait to see how it's received. You didn't leave that space open. Before anyone could spin it or shrink it, you locked the meaning into place yourself. Picture walking into a room and presenting the full picture before anyone else even opens their mouth. That's how your reveal worked. The conversation didn't happen to you. You became the conversation. Number 12. After the shift, everyone starts revealing their real orbit. Nothing exposes people's true loyalty faster than watching how they react to your rise. Some suddenly chase closeness like it's currency. Some quietly rewrite history, insisting they always believed in you. And some go completely silent, not out of peace, but out of quiet panic, replaying every time they dismissed you. You didn't become harder to reach. They became too small to stand where they used to stand. Number 13. You didn't stumble into yourself. You built yourself, piece by piece. While others waited for identity to arrive on its own, you were laying foundations. Every skill, every boundary, every piece of how you carry yourself exists because you constructed it, not because circumstance handed it to you. Picture people wandering with no direction, changing who they are like changing outfits, while you were quietly pouring concrete, reinforcing what would eventually hold under pressure. They thought you appeared out of nowhere, only because they never noticed the work happening underground. Number 14. The most dangerous part of you is still off limits. What unsettles them isn't what you revealed, it's what you didn't. A powerful person shows just enough to shift the room, never enough to be fully mapped. What they think is your complete story is barely the opening page. Picture someone opening a door expecting a small room, only to find a hallway stretching into darkness with no visible end. That's what they got a glimpse of, not your peak, your warm-up, and that's exactly why you'll always be one step ahead of whatever they think they understand about you. This isn't the end of your story, chosen one. Your reveal didn't close anything, it opened it.